Welcome to the Team Teach podcast. I'm Clare, and in each episode you'll find me talking with an expert guest to learn more about behaviour. We squeeze a lot into each episode. You'll listen to the latest thinking in behaviour, continue your professional development with our book recommendation, and then I'll send you away with 3 practical tips you can use in your setting. I'm joined today by Dave Smallwood. Dave is a Principal Team Teach trainer and Company Director of Sense Training and Consultancy. He's worked in special schools for both the local authority and for the National Autistic Society. As a staff development coordinator for the National Autistic Society, he's also delivered and developed training in autism, equality, diversity and rights. Dave is also an occasional co-host of the Team Teach podcast. And today, Dave and I are talking about supporting staff emotional wellbeing at work. Enjoy the episode. Hi Dave, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Claire. How are you?
I'm very well. It's lovely to see you this morning. We are talking today about supporting staff's emotional and social well-being at work, a pretty meaty topic for us to get into. Just before we get into it, could you tell the listener a little bit about yourself, Dave?
I can, yes. I am Dave. I am a principal Team Teach tutor. I deliver Team Teach courses a lot. And I have a background in working with young people with special educational needs and disabilities and very much in complex needs.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. And some of you may recognise my voice as the host of the Team Teach podcast. I'm Claire, and like Dave, I'm also a Principal Team Teach tutor, and my background is working in mental health education, so PRUs, SEN and autism provisions, as well as some things outside of education, including bits around adoption and fostering agencies. So a wealth of experience, hopefully, on the podcast today. Dave, let's do our hindsight question, because I love this question. And sometimes when we talk about it off air, we go off on one. But let's do it for the listener. Tell me what you wish you knew then that you know now.
Happy people will do more for you. That's my hindsight. Yeah. If I'd have known that then, everything would have gone a lot more smoothly. If people are happy, then people will do more.
More productive.
That's it. Yeah. I was trying to keep it nice and simple.
You normally talk for hours, Dave. I don't know why you decided to do short.
Well, I'm ever so sorry. How about you, Claire?
Well,
what's your hindsight?
Well, I phrased it slightly differently off air when we chatted about it, but I think I've led people. I've led some quite big teams in my career, and I think I didn't really understand that my needs are different from my staff's needs. So when I was a practitioner working in different services, I would put everything into the young people I was working with at the time there, everything into them. You know, I'd be as flexible as you like, understanding. But then when it came to leading staff, I don't think I really understood that they had different needs to me. So I was happy working all hours under the sun, you know, doing what I needed to do. But I just didn't have that flexible approach with staff. And I was pretty young, actually, when I started leading. And obviously that changed, I think, as I developed and grew. So I don't think I really, particularly when I first started to lead staff, I just didn't understand really the concept of well-being. And I don't think then, so we're going back like at least 15 years, it just wasn't talked about well-being then, in a staff context or in the services that I worked in, certainly. So yeah, I really wish that I'd understood that better, and it would have made me a better leader.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because you get so wrapped up in being focused on the young people that we're supporting, and you're so prepared. Your mind works really, really quick, and you can become quite snappy with people, can't you? Not you, but
All right, Dave.
the royal you. No, but we can't we? We can.
Yeah.
I know what needs to happen right now, so you need to do it quick. Sorry, I was just clicking my fingers. Probably picks up on the mic. But yeah, and we forget the needs of the other people. You're absolutely right. It's got me thinking, Claire, about the role of critical friends.
Yeah.
Coming back to team teach training, it's we are there, like you said, for the young people. That's why we're here, why we do what we do. But that doesn't mean that our roles are set in stone. And I think it's that flexibility with our colleagues, and hierarchy shouldn't really come into it. We are there for the young people. Therefore, I'll be flexible in my approach. So I'll do what I expect other people to do. And my role can become quite fluid, and that's supporting each other for the best interest of the young people that we're supporting. And I think that's where we should be, isn't it?
So we're a supportive unit, I suppose, in making sure that we're all okay. Because I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? But unless we and staff are okay, it's actually very difficult to make sure that the individuals that we support are okay. And it is, if I think back, obviously I've already mentioned like 15 years ago, I don't think wellbeing was mentioned. Maybe even going back a decade, I still don't think that it was a priority. And I think that the shift rightly is changing. And what makes me, and I might get on my soapbox and get quite angry, Dave, and you might have to like pull me down and pull me off it. It makes me angry in whatever service we work in, whatever sector, there is an exodus of staff working with complex individuals with behaviors that challenge, or even just in, the education sector teaching. There is an exodus of staff. What I've noticed is that the tides are changing, and I think the last couple of years that focus has had to change. So I was chatting to a mate, actually, Dave, the other day, and they're a teacher in a high school, and they were talking about that high school not having, well, they do have a marking policy, but the marking policy is feedback only in class. So as an English teacher, she doesn't have to then mark hundreds and hundreds of books a week. She's able to give feedback in the lesson, and it's kind of done in that way. And that those kind of like small changes to reduce workload is so key in helping staff to have that, emotional and social support. And it's social support, isn't it? Because if you drop my workload by X amount, it means that I'm able to have a life outside of my profession. Like, shock horror. Am I too much on my soapbox? Do you need to pull me down?
No, I'm enjoying listening to you talk. You're absolutely right. Making those reasons, the impact that it has on people is huge. It really, really is. And I think you're right. There has been a shift. There's been a shift in policies and approaches that we should be taking. And I think the real shift should come with the action, actually doing things. So if your friend with those reasonable adjustments, the marking policy, that's so fantastic, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. Is it going to have a detrimental effect on the young people's learning? No. Is it going to have a positive effect on the staff? Yes. And that positive effect on the staff is going to cascade down to the young people. So actually, eventually, it's going to be beneficial to the young people and the children that we're supporting. Why wouldn't we do things like this?
Did you know that you can become a trainer and deliver Team Teach training to staff within your own organisation? Have the flexibility to choose when, where and who you deliver your training to throughout the year. Find out more about this cost-effective option on the Team Teach website. But just thinking about in your services, Dave, I know you've been head of staff development and things, and I'm thinking in particular around behaviours that challenge or concern us. How do we support staff that are dealing with day in, day out those challenges, which might be physical challenges? It might be having to deal with things that are really difficult. How do we support those staff? Because it's not an easy job.
It's not an easy job. It certainly isn't. And it's got emotional difficulties for staff, physical difficulties for staff, certainly. And it does wear you down. You do get tired. And it's about, I think, being a human being, rolling your sleeves up and showing that you're happy to get stuck in as well. And don't worry, I'm here. I'm here to help. I'll come along and I'll help in whatever way you want me to help. I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. If you want to talk to me and vent to me, then please do. That's where we should be, I think, when we're supporting staff. Gone are the days where, well, I don't know if the days are gone. I'm going to get on my soapbox. I'm going to have to be careful. I am the head teacher. I am the principal. I am the executive head. You will do what I say. And that cascades down through the staff and through the children. And I think there's a marked difference in somebody that actually will just roll their sleeves up and get stuck in. That's how I like to support staff. Yep, no problem. I'm here. If it takes me an hour, I'll stay for an hour, but I'm here to help you in whatever way I can. That means I have to support someone with their personal care, then that's what I'll do. And it's not, I'm the head teacher, so I won't be doing that today. I need to get somebody else in. I'll do it. Yeah.
It's that leading from the front, isn't it? That I think, or leading by doing, by example. I think it's so key to help everyone to feel supported and part of a team in an organization. I've definitely worked with leaders in the past who, or I want to say leaders because I've led teams as well, but you know, the person at the very, very top, the executive, being in the ivory tower and not leading by example, and then the impact on the staff's kind of support mechanisms is so limited then, and you feel a bit out on a limb. And the best leader that I've worked for led from the front and supported and was fair. All of those things just really help that emotional and social well-being. And one thing that I found difficult when I've worked in various teams is some of the well-being initiatives that are just a one-off, where you might have a twilight, which no one wants to stay for evening training, whatever sector you work in, be it care or education, healthcare, an evening training session, 7 till 9 p.m. or whatever. And then, as a treat, someone turns it into, I don't know, a pamper session or something that's like lovely, but equally staff value time and they value things that are going to help them also in their life outside of work. So those one-off initiatives really, for me, are not the way forward with our well-being. It's having, God, people are going to get bored of me saying the things about policy because it's like my favorite word, but it is having an appropriate well-being policy that's holistic. It's not about one-off moments. It's about holistic support leading from the front, as you've said, Dave, but also making sure there are mechanisms behind closed doors that staff have appropriate support. I actually interviewed someone really recently on the podcast, someone called Holly Edwards, who's running a supervision schedule, I guess, in a mainstream primary school that she works in. And it's pretty unheard of for staff to have like clinical supervision by a trained counsellor in a primary school. And I was really amazed actually about that initiative. And the idea of that is that she initially was in charge, I think, of well-being for the service. And that's how it's evolved and how it's changed. And I know that has a cost, doesn't it? Because that's someone that, is trained and a clinical counsellor, etc. But those kinds of communication where staff can talk about how they're feeling with, you know, what they might be going through in their service is really key. I've waffled on and made about 10 different points about 20 different topics, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but you bring cost into it, and this is a big thing. A couple of things. Cost is a big thing. We always talk about cost and resources, and we haven't got enough money. And the other thing is leadership. I don't want to bash leadership, if you know what I mean, because I know they have a really difficult job. It's a real difficult balancing act, and then you've got to factor in cost. But it's a difficult one to evidence, I think. But the impact can be so massive if staff feel good within themselves and feel like they've got someone to talk to. I mean, I think this is a great idea, what you were just talking about, and if schools can do it, then brilliant.
It's a bit like the butterfly effect. I sometimes talk about that on the Team Teach training sessions that I run, that we make those small changes across the service through policy, what we put into practice, through our procedures, open door policy, all the things that you've said. We do all of those small things, and together in the future, that makes a really big change. And I think sometimes when we're thinking about this big topic, supporting emotional and social well-being of staff, we immediately think about, you know, massive costs. We think about how it's going to change really quickly, but it's about being quite realistic about what we can change, what small things we can do to try and boost that emotional and social well-being of staff. And it's not an easy thing to shift, but we can do small things perhaps.
Yeah, small things. Yeah, it's that values-driven approach, isn't it? We do it in our training a lot. Every training course we do a values exercise. How would we want our loved ones treated if someone was going to be entrusted with their care? We want them to feel valued. We want them to be listened to, showing empathy. I mean, staff need all these things as well, and it's those tiny little changes that you're talking about. If we just invest a little bit of time, 5 minutes of our day, listening to someone, then that's going to have a huge impact on their emotional well-being. It's not going to happen at once. And I think what happens if there's a structure change, you know, a huge change in senior management, there's going to be resistance as well. We have members of staff that may have been there for 20 years and seen 5 different heads, and a new head comes in, and then there's some resistance. And if we go in gung-ho and start making huge changes straight away, you're going to get massive resistance, pushback. So you have to do it in small steps, like you're saying, that butterfly effect. It's really important.
I'm going to bring us to our top tips, I think.
I knew you were going to ask for top tips. So I could feel the top tip question coming.
You could, it's there, the top tips. Go on, give us one tip, Dave.
My top tip from the beginning. That's what my top tip is, and I can't remember it now. Oh, happy people are productive people.
Yeah, I think that's really, really key, isn't it? That we are more productive when we are feeling good about the organization that we're in. I've got a couple of top tips, I think, on this one. And I think what's really come up from our conversation is about the small things that we can do. And I really wanted to bring it back to something that you said, Dave, that a top tip would be about that open door policy. So allowing people to be supported, and that doesn't cost anything. It might cost a bit of time, but it doesn't physically take away resources from anything else. Just having that open approach so people can be supported. And then the last top tip, going back to what we talked about with values, and I'm going to put it in really simple terms, being a good human being when we're a leader. And that's something I talked about in hindsight, that I was pretty robotic when I was leading, when I was much younger, and didn't really have that life experience to be flexible and to understand staff's needs. Just being a good human being with a really strong values-based approach to our staff team can really help that social and emotional well-being of our staff teams.
Absolutely. And I think with those tips there, Claire, that has just sorted out everybody's staff wellbeing
Yep.
issues and
Like,
have
that's
a
it.
happier workforce. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. We've solved the retention crisis right here in 20 minutes. So well done us.
Yes.
Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for your co-hosting today, Dave.
Thank you very much, Claire. It's been a pleasure as always.
You've been listening to the Team Teach podcast. It's been great to have you here with us as we discuss behaviour, communication, and the ways we can best support those in our care. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.